Sharper Point Commentary, presented by Schwartz Laser Eye Center.
Our broken border system is a national security crisis.
After a national security bill that contained $20 billion in border security funding that was largely crafted by independent U.S. Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, was unable to even get a procedural vote on the floor of the Senate, she let her fellow senators have it.
It turns out border security is not actually a risk to our national security. It's just a talking point for the election.
She called her colleagues hypocrites for exploiting the crisis at the border after Republicans insisted that the national security bill that provides $60 billion for Ukraine military aid had to also have border money in it. They, in her estimation, reneged on their demands, and GOP senators scuttled months of negotiations with Democrats on legislation intended to cut back on record numbers of illegal border crossings. Yeah, December was a record month for the entire country, and it was the worst in the Tucson sector. So she was so fired up, she didn't tell migrants to stay away from the border. She told members of Congress to stay away from the border.
I have a very clear message for anyone using the southern border for staged political events. Don't come to Arizona. Take your political theater to Texas.
Interesting that she would say that the evening before Republican Congressman Juan Ciscomani is leading about a dozen members of Congress. When we asked him what he thought of Senator Sinema's warning, he told us,
well, I've been on several of these trips with Senator Sinema as well, actually. And these aren't photo ops. These are fact-finding trips. These are educational trips, especially for members that have never been to the border.
So is it okay to host other members of Congress at the border if you are from Arizona, like Ciscomani and Sinema, or is it only allowed if you were for the failed border bill? And does Ciscomani get to add points to his allowed at the border score since he was born on the other side of the border in Sonora, Mexico? I'm still a little hazy on the criteria that separates political border theater from fact-finding border mission. But when I worked in politics, I made more than one trip to the border with candidates, so many trips that I jokingly suggested at one point that we could save campaign cash if we just created a video computer-generated image of the border wall and shot commercials right here in Phoenix. But Sinema might be right that some of her fellow senators are hypocrites if what I read this morning is true, that a modified package with the border portion stripped out of it, has a chance of getting passed? Earlier this week, I said if Republicans scuttled the border bill, it would appear that they are so pretzel twisted by Trump that they are arguing with themselves in a mirror. Now it looks like they're lining up in a circular firing squad.
Thanks for watching Sharper Point. Click to see more from Arizona's morning news and tap the button in the middle to subscribe.